Xperia M5, Sony is introducing the predecessor of the M4 Aqua. And even if the Aqua is not in the name anymore, nevertheless, it's still waterproof, dust-proofed IP65, 68. But you have to be aware that even if Sony is not communicating actively anymore because there have been some problems, because, for example, here you see the flap above the SIM card and SD card, you have to be really very careful to bring it back again and press it on, and especially to be aware that there is no damage on the housing on that flap over here, for example. So you might have some problems with water coming in, and then even if it's waterproofed, it might be a case of no warranty if you haven't been so careful here of that. And the second thing you should be aware of, please, if you have been in the water and want to recharge your battery, please be sure that this USB slot is really, or USB connector is really dry. So put some air in it and leave it some hours on the in the free if it's warm. So you have to be careful of these two things, and then you can go bathing with it 1.5 meters sweet water, no salt water or something else. So for 30 minutes, that's still the same like in the predecessors. The same is also the 5-inch display, or to be precise, it's 4.97 inch instead of 4.91. So meaning you have just 1 millimeter more in the diagonal, now 126 millimeters, but you have a bigger resolution now, because from 720p it's now full HD, meaning 1080 by 1920 pixels now, coming to a great density of 443 ppi. That's 20% above the average, compared to 299 ppi on the M4. That's now currently 43% below the average. So huge step forward, being way sharper now. You can see that here. Yeah, and the second thing you might have already detected is here on the front you have a really big front selfie camera here, at least big for smartphones. So this is shooting selfies now instead of 8 with 12.6 megapixels. Unfortunately, no front flash again. And on the back side it's kind of this, or it seems to be like the same camera like in the Z series, with 4K video and photos in 21.2 megapixels, but I hope, knock on wood, the quality will be way better than on the Z series, because you have might have heard that in the reviews that there have been some major issues with the camera on the Z5 series. Yeah, what's new more? We have a new processor, of course. It's now for the first time the MediaTek Helio X10. So it's 8 cores still, but they're now clocked with 2 gigahertz instead of 1.0, 1.5, and especially 3 GB of RAM instead of 2. And with that in the benchmarks, I'm taking more than 50 single values out of 12 benchmarks. And that overall ranking here, the M5 is 13% above the average. That's quite okay, especially compared to the predecessor with the Snapdragon 615 is now currently 21% below. So again, huge step, but you have to pay for it. You have again 4G like on the predecessor, 150 megabits per second, dual HSPA, Wi-Fi, AC, NFC, and so on. But it's still not, you can see here, Android 6, unfortunately, because it's just 5.1, as you can see here. And that's a little bit disappointing, because see, the second problem is that you have 16 gigabyte internal memory, way better than the only 8 GB of the predecessor, because in some countries like mine here, Germany, Europe, we had just had that 8 GB version here, leaving a net memory of just 1.4 GB. That was too low. Now 16, okay, but leaving net only, again, 6.52 gigabyte. That's the net memory, because if you have once updated the operating system and all pre-installed apps, net just 6.5 gigabyte. It's not so much. You can live with that, but for the price, at least here in Germany, Europe, it's 399 euros, including tax, recommended retail price, starting with street prices now around about 350. But that's a little bit too expensive, I guess, for only 6.5 gigabyte net memory. And especially now we come to the battery runtime. It's fixed again, built in under that glass backside here. Now 2600 milliamps instead of 2400. But nevertheless, runtime is shorter. I do not understand why, because it's just 379 minutes. That's 21% below the average, compared to 470 minutes of the predecessor. That's currently minus 2%. 2% below the average. So that's quite okay. But here, 21% below, that's a little bit strange. Especially, you might come through the day as your regular user, but on the other hand, if you are having it a little bit more, not saying heavy user, you might have to recharge during the day. And that's a little bit disappointing, I guess, for a phone with almost 400 euros recommended retail. By the way, you will find the final test on my website. Above here, it's mobiwatch.net. In around about 1 or 2 weeks, you will find the complete review of the Xperia M5. That's at the moment enough for the first impression. I thank you for watching this video. Take care and bye.